How's it going, everybody? That's a little too close. Here we go. Alright, what's happening? So, how are we going to reconcile this liberal-conservative problem? You know, politics have been on everyone's mind lately. I'd love to go on and get into some other subject, but until the air is cleared on these issues, I feel like it's what's on my mind. And I'm not going to resist the fact that these things do affect us emotionally. I haven't felt any vital anger during this election yet. I haven't felt any actual anger or true frustration, but more like dumbfounded, what the fuck is going on? And just like the last election with Obama, and since then, I've seen a lot more division in America and elsewhere, but the internet has really opened up a new chapter in people's division and hate because they're allowed to scorn one another merely for being a liberal or a conservative. I think that the titles are unsuitable because there are a wide variety of different types of people. You know, there's the balding, ponytail, middle-aged white liberal guy who is just annoying as hell and tries to, protest everything. And I'm just trying to get a picture of someone in my mind. Or the college kids who just think they're holier than thou and that, oh, well, the world should change for us and, all your old conservative values are outdated. But those are the extreme liberals. And then there are the extreme conservatives, the one who believe that everything should be run a certain way, that we need to go back to the old-fashioned way of doing things, that a woman's place is in the house, or that, any number of old stereotypical thought patterns that a lot of the extreme conservatives have. But not all conservatives hold those values. There are moderate conservatives. There are conservatives out protesting Trump, just like there were liberals out protesting various, I'm sure there were some protesting Obama. The whole point is that everyone has their own opinion, and it's based on the life that they've lived and where they've come from and what their environmental conditions have been in that life. So while you may have grown up in deep Tennessee and hung out with good old boys and gone out, shot shotguns and hunting, and I'm not trying to judge or stereotype, I'm just making an extreme example. You grew up or in the in the backwoods somewhere, and you have a different idea of what it means to have a good America. You've seen the coal mines have been stripped down and closed up, and you see these liberals talking about clean energy, and then you hear that it's just a corporate machine and that clean energy is a scam to try to make more money, and for some people it is, and this is where things get really complex. The average liberal is not a bad person, but we have to remember the average conservative is not a bad person either. They are just people, and there are extreme versions. Folks are forced by their own choice, but forced by society to pick a side. And anyone who's an independent is told they're wasting their vote, or, why bother? I know there are Green Party people, and I know there are a Libertarian Party, there's a Socialist Party, there have always been parties. I'm surprised they don't have an Anarchist Party on the ballot this year still, like the old days. But, the idea of anarchism is self-government, and, what we've run into is a huge problem right now with too large of a government and too many laws. Yet some of these laws protect us and some don't. It's like when you strip off, the old paint, you're taking everything with it, and you've got to be really careful to make sure that when you eliminate programs, you're not setting anyone back. Anyhow, we've got a lot of people who are really benefiting from social programs. A lot of folks who live in very poor rural areas do benefit greatly from things like food stamps. And I find that a lot of those same people tend to be conservative voters who are often voting against their own best interests, voting for candidates who want to eliminate social services, eliminate healthcare and food stamps, want to take away the very programs that they live on. But there's so much propaganda out there to turn us against one another. And it's really easy for us to get wrapped up in it and to blame each other because we're frustrated. So while people were frustrated during this election, I heard some of the, people said pretty much anything you can imagine a person saying. Like a comment I read this morning is, so when do we get to start shooting Hillary supporters? You can't even respond to a comment like that. It just sets the mentality for that Trump supporter tone. While there's other Trump supporters out there who are saying, hey, we're not like that. We voted for different reasons. And the same thing with the Clinton supporters. Some people who voted for it did so reluctantly because they had to. There are so many varieties of different types of people. I guess what I'm saying is that as much as we might be divided on values, it is important to find common grounds and come together on the things that are important. So if you believe, if you're, let's say, I guess you would consider, people would label me a liberal. Say, there's a conservative who has completely opposite values. They want to ban abortion. I don't. Or they want to, deport immigrants, and I don't. These kinds of things. But at the same time, I think all of us basically want the same thing, which is an end to where things are working well for the country. So maybe neither one of us know the proper path. Maybe it's a little of both. Maybe immigration is an issue, but only in certain areas. Maybe immigration is a big problem, but only certain aspects of it. Perhaps there are things that we can change about the way that we do business with other countries. And, there are many different aspects to change we don't understand. So we hire people and put them into office to make these decisions for us. So what I'd like to say is, even though we may disagree on extreme points of view, it's important that we come together over the simpler things, such as us being ruled by a tyrannical government, regardless of who we vote for. There's no way out. I think that in the next few years we're going to start to see how nasty things can really become. And, it's all out in the open now. There's no more holding back or restraining ourselves from saying how we feel. And that's opened up a Pandora's box. And now it's not going to close again, and we definitely need to figure out how we can proceed and get along. And just remember that once Pandora's box was opened, there was one thing left in the bottom after all the evil escaped. And that was hope. Hope. For what it's worth. Talk to you later.